So, what if I told you there's a simple, powerful formula for better relationships and, greater success? Well, almost a century ago, a guy named Dale Carnegie figured it out in his book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Today, we're going to break down that timeless human equation, see how it really works, and figure out why it might be more important now than ever before. I mean, just imagine for a second. A simple set of rules that could totally change your relationships, give your career a boost, and just make people genuinely like being around you. And look, this isn't about manipulation or some kind of cheap trick. Not at all. It's really about getting a deeper understanding of, well, the basic operating system of human beings.
And trust me, this is not some passing trend. This book came out way back in 1936, and it sold over 30 million copies. Just let that sink in for a moment. That number alone should tell you something huge. These ideas have stuck around for one simple reason: they just tap into the fundamental truths of how we all work.
Okay, so here's the game plan for this explainer. First, we'll look at his secret to success. Then, we'll dig into the one big idea that's behind everything. After that, we'll go through Carnegie's most unforgettable principles, talk about how you can teach this stuff to your kids, and wrap it all up with why it still matters so much today.
All right, first up, Carnegie makes this really bold claim. He says that financial success, even in super technical fields, is only about 15% technical know-how. The other 85%? That comes from your skill in what he calls human engineering. Basically, your ability to connect with people, to communicate, to lead. It's all about people skills. And what's so crazy is that his ideas are so simple, but almost nobody actually does them consistently.
Okay, so underneath every single piece of advice in this entire book, there's one core philosophy. It's this one big idea that I promise you, once you really get it, it will completely change the way you look at every single conversation you have. So the central idea is this. And look, it might sound a little harsh at first, maybe even a bit cynical, but trust me on this. Stick with it, because once you understand this one truth, it's actually incredibly freeing. There it is. People care far more about themselves than they do about you. Now, before you dismiss that as cynical, Carnegie says we should see it as a key, right? It's the key that unlocks everything. It means the most powerful thing you can possibly do is to stop focusing on yourself and shift all that focus onto the other person. That's it. That's the secret to connecting with literally anyone. So what does that actually look like? Well, think of it this way. Every single person you meet in every conversation is silently asking 3 questions in their head. Do you respect me? Do you value me? Do you understand me? And if you can make your words and your actions answer yes to those questions, you're going to build some incredibly strong connections. So the big takeaway here is that real influence, it's not about power or being the boss. It's not about forcing people to do what you want. It's the natural result of just understanding people, making them feel seen, heard, and valued. Influence just kind of happens as a side effect of real empathy. Okay, so that's the big idea, but how do we actually put it into practice? Let's get into the tools. We're about to break down some of Carnegie's most unforgettable and, more importantly, actionable principles. Okay, principle number 1, don't criticize, condemn, or complain. And I get it, this is so hard for most of us, but it is absolutely crucial. See, criticism doesn't make people change, it just makes them resentful. The second you criticize someone, their brain just shuts down and goes into defense mode. It's not thinking, oh, good point. It's busy trying to justify what it did. So Carnegie's alternative is pretty radical. Instead of being critical, get curious. Try to figure out why they did what they did. Understanding will always get you further than judging. Next up, give honest and sincere appreciation. And this is so important because there's a huge difference between flattery and real appreciation, right? Flattery is fake, it's insincere, and people can feel it a mile away. But sincere appreciation, that's genuine and it's specific. So instead of just saying, hey, good job, you say something like, wow, the way you handled that tough client meeting was seriously impressive. That specificity makes people feel truly seen. And believe me, people are absolutely starving for that. Okay, this next one is a total game changer, a real paradox. Most of us walk into a room hoping to be interesting, right? We talk about ourselves, our accomplishments, but Carnegie just flips that on its head. He says the absolute easiest way to become interesting is to become interested. Forget about you. Ask people good questions about them. Actually listen to the answers. People are just naturally drawn to anyone who makes them feel heard. And principle number 4, a person's name is the most important sound in any language to them.
This is so simple, but it is an absolute secret weapon for connection. When you remember and use someone's name, you're sending this really powerful subconscious message that says, "You matter. I see you." It's such a small thing, but it pays off big time in building relationships.
Okay, this next one taps into maybe the deepest human desire there is, the need to feel important. Everybody, and I mean everybody, wants to feel like they matter. The best leaders just get this. They don't just bark orders. They find ways to make every single person on the team feel essential. And when you make someone feel truly important, it's amazing to see how they'll rise to the occasion to prove you right. All right, how to win an argument. This is one of Carnegie's most famous ideas. And his answer? The only way to win is to avoid it completely. Think about it. Even if you win the point, you've probably lost the relationship, right? So the better way to go is to turn a fight into a team effort. Show respect for their opinion. Actually admit when you might be wrong and ask questions instead of throwing accusations. It changes everything. So this stuff is obviously powerful for us as adults. But what about our kids? How do we pass this on to the next generation? Because honestly, these principles are life-changing, and the sooner you learn them, the better. So let's try and boil this all down into some simple rules for children. Okay, these 4 rules right here really capture the spirit of the book for kids. Be curious, say thank you, avoid arguments, and make people feel valued. But it's one thing to say it and another to teach it, right? So for be curious, we can actually model that by asking our kids about their friends. For say thank you, we can point out the specific effort someone made. When it comes to arguments, instead of asking who was right, we can ask, what do you think they were feeling? And to make people feel valued, we praise their character, not just what they accomplish. If we can instill these habits, we're giving our kids a massive head start in life, in their friendships, and down the road in their careers. Okay, last section. Why does any of this still matter today? I mean, it's easy to look at a book from the 1930s and think, come on, that's totally outdated. But here's the crazy thing. These ideas might actually be more important and more powerful right now than they've ever been. Just think about our world for a second. We're living in an age of angry online arguments, texts that get completely misunderstood, and social media that's all about look at me. In a world like that, a real, genuine human connection is getting harder and harder to find. And that makes it so much more valuable. Being able to truly listen, to show a little empathy in an email, or to make someone feel understood on a video call, that's basically a modern-day superpower. And that really brings us to the ultimate point here. When you zoom all the way out, you realize this book isn't really a playbook for winning or influencing people. It's a guide to being a kinder, more empathetic human being. It's about shifting your focus away from yourself and onto others, treating them with respect, appreciating them for real. And the influence? Well, that just kind of happens on its own. So I want to end with this quote because it just wraps up Carnegie's entire philosophy perfectly. If you help other people feel important, respected, and understood, they will naturally want to help you succeed. See? It's not a transaction. It's just a fundamental truth about people. When you genuinely invest your time and energy in others, when you try to lift them up, they will naturally want to do the same for you. That's the secret. That's the human equation.